happy CFS Awareness Day! Today I'm going to be talking about chronic fatigue syndrome. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I first learned that I might have it about 3 years ago, and then I got officially diagnosed about 6 months after that, I think. I don't remember the exact date. It was a very casual, my doctor was like, you might have this, but you probably don't kind of conversation, and then they changed their minds. I am by no means an expert, like at all. I'm still learning about my condition, but in honor of Chronic Fatigue Syndrome Awareness Day, I thought I would share some information and talk about my personal experience a little bit to help raise awareness. So, firstly, what is CFS? Of course. CFS stands for Chronic Fatigue Syndrome. It's also called myalgic It's also called myalgic encephalomyelitis. My doctors have said it to me a couple of times and I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's hard for me to pronounce. But usually when people call it that, they just say ME from what I've seen. I've also heard it called systemic exertion intolerance disease, or SEID. But I see that one a lot less. Most people call it either CFS or ME from what I've seen. I personally call it CFS. That's the easiest one for me to say. And CFS is a disorder characterized by extreme fatigue that isn't explained by an underlying medical condition and doesn't go away after resting. The main symptom is fatigue, of course, that lasts longer than 6 months, and usually it gets worse with activity, and resting doesn't make it any better. There's no cure or official treatment that I know of, but some of the symptoms can be treated and managed. I personally, I don't know, I guess I fight it. I don't really fight it, I just kind of let it happen, but I personally fight it by managing my symptoms and trying to treat the symptoms when they show up if I can't control them showing up. The symptoms that I know of and experience are pain in joints and muscles, sleep disturbances, fatigue, of course, inability to exercise, anxiety and apprehension, confusion, forgetfulness, lack of concentration, brain fog, depression, headaches, muscle weakness, pain sensitivity, temperature sensitivity, sore throat, and speech issues. I'm probably forgetting some, but that's the ones that I can think of. There's no cure, however, I manage my symptoms through a treatment plan that includes pacing and self-care. Pacing is used to balance rest and activity to avoid post-exertional malaise, which can be caused in people with CFS after exertion that they can't tolerate. So like, if say I'm planning on taking a 20-minute walk and then something happens and the walk turns into a 45-minute walk, that could be a very big issue and cause PEM, post-exertional malaise. And I use pacing to kind of avoid that as best as I can. Sometimes I can't help it, and sometimes, you know, stuff comes up and I have to overwork myself, but I try my hardest not to. This background is so yellow. I personally use the spoon system, which is basically a way to measure how much energy I have in the day. I'll put up like an infographic of some sort to show you, but that's what I use personally. I know some people use other systems that I'm not super familiar with, so I won't be talking about those, but the spoon system is what I use. It's the easiest for me. Me and my boyfriend use it with each other. People without CFS can use it. It's not a CFS thing, it's just like a chronic illness in general kind of thing from what I've seen. Being mindful of personal limits is a useful coping skill for people with CFS. With CFS, things as simple as brushing your teeth or getting dressed can cause a crash. A crash is all your energy going away, you know, like a normal energy crash, but like CFS related. It's important for people around a person with CFS to be aware of that person's personal limits and not push them. I have I've had a lot of friends in the past that have tried to convince me that I can actually handle more than I think I can, and it never ends well. Usually ends with me either being in intense pain, being bedridden, or fainting, and that's never good. It's good to be aware and try not to push us when we say something is too much for us. A lot of people just view it as kind of an inconvenience, but a lot of the time it is a danger thing. Walking an extra mile can take us out for an entire week. I personally have a hard time with things like standing for long periods of time and exercising, so I often have to take breaks, or if I need to be walking somewhere for a long period of time, I bring my cane with me. Part of my CFS, which is one of the symptoms that I left out, but part of my CFS is extremely bad balance. So I walk with a cane a lot of the time to kind of help with that. This is me with my cane. If I'm having a particularly bad day balance-wise, or even just pain-wise, because it's helpful, I have to be active for long periods of time, I bring my cane with me. Having to explain to people why I use my cane is hard most of the time. People always assume that I'm injured, and it gets kind of tiring explaining to 10 different people like every single time that I go out that no, I'm not injured, I'm the same as the last time you saw me, it's just a bad day. Especially when I run into like my parents' friends in public, that's always rough. But anyways, now I'm gonna answer some frequently asked questions, just based on some questions that I found online and just some ones that I have gotten personally. Okay, so what does the chronic and chronic fatigue syndrome mean? Chronic means long term. Usually chronic is used to describe an illness that lasts longer than 3 months. However, with CFS, it's 6 months or longer. I think officially my fatigue period has been 4.5 years, I think, because I was actually incredibly sick for a long time before I went to the doctor, because I was still a little bit of baby minor, so yeah. What does fatigue mean medically? Or something along the lines of, is it the same as just being tired? Usually, this one isn't actually a question. Usually it's a statement, like it's just the same thing as being tired. I hear that all the time. Fatigue, in the medical terminology way, refers to the state of reduced capacity for work or accomplishment following a period of mental or physical activity. I'm sorry, I'm currently in the middle of a flare-up. This is my activity for the day, and my throat has been killing me. So I'm not sick, not COVID, none of that, just a flare-up. This is what happens. Basically, fatigue is what happened. Being tired is like a natural, normal thing, you know? You feel tired sometimes, that's just what happens. Fatigue is when you kind of are running on low battery mode. So chronic fatigue usually is kind of like running on low battery mode for 6 months or longer, which is a lot, as you can probably imagine. For me, how I usually describe it is fatigue, in my experience, and from what I've heard of other people's experiences too, so much worse than just being tired. It's fatigue. It's not chronic tiredness syndrome, it's chronic fatigue syndrome. It's like you're at your wit's end kind of shit. For me, I guess the best way to describe it is my fatigue is kind of like if you had strep throat for 3 years straight. I kind of just always feel like I have strep throat, like forever. The pain in my throat is not as, because sore throat is one of my symptoms. It's not as bad as strep throat, but the whole body thing is about as, I would say, worse than strep throat. I get strep throat like annually, and like it's the worst part of strep throat for me is the throat pain. That's literally it. The rest of it, it doesn't change anything. So I would say that chronic fatigue is even worse than strep throat, but the closest thing that I can think of, I've never had the flu or anything, so I don't know about that. I've heard other people with CFS say that it's like having the flu for like years on end. I've never had the flu though, so I wouldn't know. For me, I usually describe it as it's like having strep throat, but for like 3 or more years, just straight. You don't get a break. Which is, yeah. But yeah, no, it is not the same as just being tired. It is so much worse, and there's so much more going on than just like, oh, I'm sleepy. Like, coffee isn't gonna fix it, you know? So what causes CFS? From the research that I've done, sometimes CFS can show up after things like the flu or unusual amounts of stress. However, it just usually kind of shows up. Like, it's just like, here you go, you're fatigued now, deal with it. I don't think that there's an official known cause, because I mean, the like definition that I see everywhere and that I've been told by my doctors is it's fatigue that is not explained by anything else. So I don't think that there's an official cause. I know that we don't know a whole lot about this illness in general. From the research that I've done and from what I've heard from my doctors and from other people experiencing this condition, it's kind of been put on the back burner as far as studies and like help in general goes, which is shitty, but that's why I'm making this video. So related to the is it just tired, is people often ask, is CFS really that bad? Or something like, yeah, well, this thing is worse. I often hear, when I talk about chronic fatigue, I often hear stuff like, yeah, well, my mom has, like, I don't know, diabetes, so you should suck it up, and that kind of stuff. Because at face value, chronic fatigue syndrome does kind of just sound like, oh, you're tired all the time. It's not what it is. But, so is CFS really that bad? Short answer, yes, it's really that bad. While I was doing my research, I found multiple medical sources, so like official doctory people, that compared the effects and the, you know, the feeling of CFS, and we're not going to do a pain Olympics thing. That's not what this question is about, just in general. I found multiple official medical sources comparing the pain and quality of life level to multiple sclerosis, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, congestive heart failure, along with a bunch of other conditions. I also found, I don't know how accurate it is, and I'm not a medical professional or anything like that, and I am by no means an expert, but I also saw a couple of studies comparing like quality of life to other conditions, and in every single one that I saw, CFS had the lowest quality of life. So I don't know if that means anything to the people that ask me that kind of question, but yeah, short answer, it's really that bad. So who is usually affected by it? Women are most often diagnosed with it. If I remember correctly, the ratio for women to men is like 3 to 1, which doesn't sound like that big of a difference, but that's a pretty big difference. I'm not good with math, but I saw a bunch of different numbers. I saw stuff like 3 to 1 being thrown around. I saw stuff like women are 4 times more likely to get it. I saw stuff like 80% of people with CFS are women. I don't know if those numbers make sense together because I have a math learning disability, but mostly women. Mostly women get it. You're more likely to get it when you're an adult than you are when you are a child. However, it often develops when you're in your teenagers. And then, you know, but it can take a really long time to get diagnosed. I am incredibly lucky with how quickly I was diagnosed. I found a wonderful medical team that was able to help me very fast. I believe on average it takes 5 years or more to get diagnosed. I think. I don't remember, and I didn't write it down, so maybe it's not that. Who knows? If I figure it out, I'll put it up here somewhere. Is depression a symptom? Kind of, I guess. Depression and CFS often like coexist. However, they aren't really caused by each other. Like, depression doesn't cause CFS and CFS doesn't cause depression from what I've seen. However, they do often kind of hang out together. They're friends. And then, okay. Why does it mainly affect women? Because following previous question, why does it mainly affect women? I'm not really sure. And for what I've seen, no one really knows. Like, no one's really sure as to why. It looks like most likely it has something to do with estrogen, but I haven't found a solid answer yet. With one of the aspects being that we don't know what causes it, and then it seems to be an unexplained illness that it's kind of an issue with figuring out why more women have it than men do. But from what I've seen, and this is a thing that's kind of intensely argued in the community with like medical professionals and with people experiencing it. However, if you consider CFS an autoimmune disease, more women than men have autoimmune diseases, so it could be an estrogen issue, I think, is the main theory, but I haven't seen a solid answer out there, so I really can't. I don't know. Now we got a couple of uncomfortable ones. Is CFS contagious? No. Question mark? From what I've seen, there's no evidence to support that CFS being contagious is a thing, but I think they're still doing tests to figure out if it's safe to do blood donations from people with CFS, but that doesn't really affect me since I can't donate blood anyways. I have a bunch of other stuff going on that makes it so that I can't donate blood anyhow, so like, but from what I've seen, there's nothing to back up CFS being contagious, so I'm gonna tentatively say no. Have you tried, usually it's stuff like yoga or exercise or essential oils, and like, I'm a witch, I'm very big on essential oils. Yes, I have, and to put it nicely, they don't do shit. Nothing happens with them. I've tried exercise, I've tried yoga, I've tried essential oils, I've tried crystals, I've tried herb supplements, I've tried plant enzymes. I don't know if this is considered the same thing as herb supplements, but like, I've tried most things that I can get my hands on. I've tried antidepressants, I've tried just about everything that I can feasibly get my hands on, and nope. The best thing that works for me is pacing, and I've never seen a person say that yoga or anything like that has helped them with it. I'm sure that there is an exception out there somewhere, I just haven't seen it yet. But in general, don't ask people this kind of shit. Don't ask people. Not only is that just not super polite, it's also kind of like super ableist. Don't assume that I haven't tried shit like yoga. Also, like, yoga's not gonna fix it. I'm sorry. Yoga is the one that I get most often, is people will be like, have you done yoga? That'll fix it. And it's like, no, it won't. Sorry, honey, but no. And like, it's fine to ask what kind of treatments or anything that you've tried, depending on the person's boundaries. For me, it's fine. I'll tell you about the treatments that I've tried. The way that this question is always presented is like, well, have you tried yoga? Like, as like, it's like this big obvious, oh, I bet you haven't done that yet kind of thing. Don't do that shit. That's just not nice. And again, it's ableist. But anyways, what conditions mimic the symptoms of CFS? And I found a big list for this, and I'm gonna kind of touch on it, not a whole lot, but a little bit. I'm not gonna be super duper detailed with any of these. You can do your own research, but this video is already gonna be too long. Hypothyroidism, sleep apnea, narcolepsy, major depressive disorders, chronic mononucleosis, I can't talk today, sorry, bipolar affective disorders, schizophrenia, eating disorders, cancer, autoimmune diseases, hormonal disorders. I can't read that one. I'm sorry, I can't read that one. I can't read that right now. Obesity, alcohol or substance abuse, and reactions to prescribed medications. So this is part 1 to this video. I might make a part 2 in the future, kind of answering more questions, and talking about some things I skipped for this one. For instance, things that you really shouldn't say to people with CFS, which we kind of talked about with the have you tried whatever thing, but there are a lot of things out there that I've heard from people that you really should not be saying to anybody in general, but like, you know, so I would love to talk about that in another video. I don't have time for this one, but I would love to talk about that in another video. So, let me know if you'd like to see that. I'll probably make one whether or not you want to see it, honestly. But that's all I got for you today. Happy CFS Awareness Day. I hope this video made you a bit more aware. I will be doing something on my Instagram either today or some other day in this week, answering people's questions depending on how many questions I get and how long it takes or whatever. Just the awareness should not stop at today. It should continue after this. You should be more aware of the people around you and the things that are affecting them, especially when it's something that is so greatly affected by the people around us. So I will probably be doing a Q&A type thingy on my Instagram, and then I'll probably upload it on here too. So if you have any questions, feel free to put those down in the comments, or you can message me personally if you want a more fleshed out answer, or if you have more personal questions that you don't think I would want to answer. I'm very much open to any questions. I just, there are a lot of things that this condition affects that people wouldn't think of. However, but anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take some time today and do some research on CFS. I will have lots of things up on my Instagram, probably my TikTok too even. And of course, like I said, I'll probably be doing a part 2 of this video, but do some research, make yourself more aware, talk to somebody that has it. You can talk to me if you want. Like, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. I still don't have an outro, so bye!